It's all about this amazing place, a home that we all can share. Listen to the music, see the sights to see. We got a very scenic university. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing with us a song. VSU in my heart.
There is so much this school has given me, the sunsets and truths beside commodity. Oh, how can I repay?
Listen to the music, sing it cheer to cheer at the Visayas State University. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing with us a song. VSU in my heart.
Well, it's here at the Visayas State University.
VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart. Listen to the music, sing with us a song. VSU in my heart, VSU in my heart,
VSU in my heart.
A minute of prayer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for the forgiveness of sins, for peace in our country and the world, and the conservation of our forests. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the hour of great mercy. At this time, our Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross and redeemed the world.
You died, Jesus, but the source of life flowed out for souls, and the ocean of mercy opened up for the whole world. O fountain of life, immeasurable divine mercy, cover the whole world and empty yourself out upon us. O blood and water, which flowed out from the heart of Jesus as a fountain of mercy for us, I trust in you. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Amen. Jesus, King of mercy, we trust in you.
This is DYDC-FM 104.7, your development campus radio, broadcasting from the beautiful campus of the Visayas State University, Visca, Baybay City, Leyte, Philippines.
VSU Radio, DYDC.
Maayong adlaw kanyatong tanan. Ako si Dr. Delberto Ferraren, Vice President sa Planning, Resource Generation and Auxiliary Services sa Visayas State University. Para nako, DYDC FM Jud ko. Ikaw sabha, Radyo Kalambuan Jud na.
Wow, Ben! Ninduta gud ang imong gidrawing. Nature man na, oy! May pakapinbalak pa yun ay. Para asa di ay na.
Practice pa ko ani Jen. Isubmit unya ni nako sa amuang eskwelahan sa kahanginan or school on the air.
Ha? Asa mo na dapita? Aw, sa DYDC-FM? Katong kabahin sa School on the Air o SOA on Visual Arts para sa mga junior ug senior high school teachers ug students sa MAPE ug Special Program in the Arts sa DepEd?
Correct lagi ka Jen.
Ako pa! Tigpaminawan baya og avid fan ko sa DWDC-FM 104.7 para malang di ay na sa taga-Baybay City ug Southern Leyte Schools Divisions. Pero, pwede gihapon ng uban makapaminaw sa DYDC kung ganahan sila. Libre ra.
Lagi, swerte gud ko nga naka-appeal ko ani. Taga East West Center o EWC sa Honolulu, Hawaii, USA ang sponsor sa SOA on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment.
Mao ba? Gikan sa Amerika. Nahala, pag ayo-ayo migo. Tudloi unya ko sa imuha makatunan sa SOA ha. Bye.
The Visayas State University through the Department of Development Communication and DYDC-FM 104.7 in partnership with the East West Center, EWC in Honolulu, Hawaii, USA, and the two schools divisions of the Department of Education, DepEd, Baybay City Schools Division in Leyte and Southern Leyte Schools Division proudly presents
The School on the Air, or SOA on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment. A radio school program that will educate visual arts among teachers and students who are into music, arts, physical education and health, MAPE, and Special Program in the Arts, SPA of the DepEd as our SOA participants.
This is to improve their quality of education, create awareness, and promote mental health and well-being,
as well as environmental protection among our SOA participants.
SOA on Visual Arts for Mental Health and Environment.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Philippine Standard Time.
And now, please welcome the two radio hosts of this SOA program.
Alright, good afternoon SOA participants and welcome to another learning session of the School on the Air on Visual Arts for Mental Health and the Environment. I'm Perlene Fernandez.
And I'm Buen Andrade. I'm glad to be back, no, Perlene?
Yes, Buen.
Ayan, hello, Visayas State University, VSU, and to the SOA project team, the Department of Education, DepEd Baybay City and Southern Leyte Schools Divisions, MAPE, SPA teachers and students who are our SOA participants, and to everyone tuning in over DYDC-FM 104.7 to this special radio program today. I hope you're all doing great, no? So far, we are now on week 5 of our 6 weeks, no? Sa atong SOA or School on the Air.
All right. So before anything else, let's first have our customary roll call, starting with participants from Baybay City Schools Division. All right. So dating gawi, kindly unmute your mic and open your cameras and say aloha together. All right. So ready, get set, go. Hi, aloha. Thank you so much. Virtual clap for you guys. What about our participants from the Southern Leyte Schools Division? Ready, get set, go.
Aloha.
Alright, aloha. Thank you. Virtual clap for you also. So great job, SOA participants.
All right.
Okay, so before we proceed, we would like to remind those who have not yet answered the assessments or submitted their exercises to accomplish them as soon as possible. We need to stress out the importance of accomplishing the exercises and answering the quizzes for you to graduate in this SOA. Happy na po draba bueno
Yes, hapit na
ang
gid Pearl, no?
graduation.
So I think we still have one more week to go before ta mag-graduation. So again, sa katong wala pa naka-accomplish na silang mga exercises and their assessments, so please please accomplish them and submit them sa atong Google Classroom.
That's right.
Okay.
All right. So let's have a quick recap now of the past module. Right, so in the past lesson, we were supposed to tackle dry media, specifically all pastel, and how to draw a flower using all pastel. However, no, due to some technical issues, we weren't able to go through with the video.
Okay, so hopefully today, we will have a stable internet connection on our end, and also again, we'd like to also thank our technical personnel here in DYDCFM, Kuya Sean, si Kuya Luis, and Arnel Gusela, and to those who helped us, in this to have a stable connection, and hopefully we will go through this program without a hitch, no. Okay, so first for the lesson 1, module 5, we will be playing the video on drawing flower using oil pastel, and also on the next video, this will be on lesson 2, which is sketching landscape, also with oil pastel.
All right, so guys, get yourselves comfortable now. Listen very well. Make sure to take down notes, and of course, enjoy the video lessons which will be played for you.
And again, we would like to remind everyone to put their microphones on mute while the lesson is still going on, and also please have your drawing materials handy for your activity today, or just take down notes. Okay, so again, two videos, so it's gonna be a longer
learning session.
learning session kay fused into one
Yes.
learning session naman siya because of course last meeting na yung mga issues, no. But so here it is, guys. Be ready, no.
Such an awe-inspiring landscape here at the Visayas State University. It is one of the most prestigious universities in the Philippines and also a popular tourism destination here in Eastern Visayas. Today, I'll be sharing to you Module 5 on dry media art with Lesson 1 on oil pastel techniques. I will be using some beautiful flowers that I've collected from the landscape as my source of inspiration. Make a light graphite pencil sketch of the outline and contour lines of the flower. The first technique is to establish the background first by blending different oil pastel colors using a light stroke. Once you have established your background, you use a second technique using a heavier stroke. Now start coloring the parts of the flower using both light and heavy strokes. You use white to help in the blending of your colors.
Kasi wala na dito mga anak ang papunta. Kasi magkapanimang dito yung
Use the third technique when coloring the leaves. Rub a lighter color like yellow or pink first, and then cover them with a darker green color. With a sharp stick or cutter, make marks on the leaf to represent the leaf veins. This is what you call as the graffito technique. This is a great way to illustrate detail on your oil pastel drawings. You can also make marks on the petals to add detail. For the fourth technique, you may use turpentine or baby oil to blend some parts of your oil pastel drawing to come up with subtle blending. You may use a brush or a cotton bud to do this. So for this drawing, I'll be using a brush. Okay, so this technique is going to soften the background. This technique will try to reduce the amount of texture on your background so that more focus will be given to your foreground. So this blending technique using turpentine will try to reduce the amount of texture in the background. So this technique of using turpentine or baby oil to soften the background should be used sparingly. The fifth technique is using the side of the oil pastel stick to create textures and marks, or you sharpen the pastel tip to create fine lines on your drawing. So finalize your drawing by balancing value and tone. Now we have our still life of a flower using oil pastels. I hope you enjoyed my demonstration on oil pastel techniques. Please share your drawings to our FB group by using hashtag SOA Visual Arts. I am now ready for your questions.
All right, so that was lesson 1, module 5, no, on drawing flower with oil pastel techniques by Sir Jude Nonisales. And by the way, no, not a message coming from our watchers on Facebook Live. Actually, we have 19 watchers right now on Facebook Live. So we have from Dalia Rado, heart, no, from Ma'am Edith Cagasa, nindot kaayo ang gipaint ni Sir Jude. Yeah, truly nindot kaayo, no? And from Sir Norlan June Labaco Consad, watching.
Right, thank you so much to our viewers, and some of them, no buwan, are our participants sad, no, nag-join, and ang uban sad ang atong viewers lang jud, no, gusto makiguban kanata.
That's right. And of course, no, I hope you also knew mga techniques that Sir Jude has imparted on the first video. Okay, so here's our next video, and this one's for lesson 2 of module 5, and this is for our drawing landscape, no, using oil pastel. So please take down notes as well, no, and learn and enjoy this great video.
Captivating scenery of Baybay City, right? Hi guys! We are now here again at Lintaon Peak in Baybay City, Leyte for another lesson which will focus on how to use colored oil pastels for drawing landscapes. Hey guys, I'm now going to draw a landscape using my colored oil pastel with me. And along with it, I brought a folding table and a tripod. Okay? A tripod easel is essential when you draw landscape so that you can have the freedom to move your hands about and view the landscape at the same time. So this is the convenience of using a tripod easel. Okay, the first step that you will do when you're going to draw a landscape is try to determine its local color. So the local color that we have here is mostly green and blue. So I'll be using light blue for my outline. So later, the lines of the blue won't be visible as I place the other layers of color on my illustration board. Okay, this is my illustration board. Okay, so you may also use paper like Oslo or rough cartolina for your oil pastel drawing. But since I would like to come up with a more stronger and more easily transportable piece of medium, I used illustration board, artist illustration board. So let's first sketch using the perspective lines, no? So just like in the previous module in charcoal drawing, I first established the horizon as well as the position of the nearby hills. So I have to be very careful on how to create the illusion of distance with my sketch, no? So the most important thing to do when you make your sketch is you have to be very sure and accurate about your establishing lines. Okay, so I've now indicated the areas of the horizon, the hills nearby, and the bushes and trees that I would like to place in my foreground. Okay, so what we usually do in using pastels, oil pastels for sketching is that we start first with our background. So the base color, the local color that we have here is blue, so I'm going to first introduce the color of our sky. So I'm here introducing, I'm using here sky blue. So later on, we will be using other warm colors to make the color of our background and atmosphere quite a little bit gray. Okay, so you have to remember that muted colors or cooler colors tend to make the background look as if it is at a certain distance, as if it looks far away from the viewer. If you use muted colors, when you say muted colors, these are mostly colors with the gray tone. So when you also use your oil pastels for landscapes, you have to be very careful on your use of yellow, because yellow is a very powerful color and it tends to overwhelm the eyes, and yellow sometimes creates problems when it comes to atmospheric perspective or creating the illusion of distance. So next is we'll use a much darker blue color for the mountain range. Okay, I'm trying to test my color, trying to analyze which areas need this particular shade to create the illusion of distance. Okay, oil pastels are actually pigments suspended in wax, no? So if you compare an oil pastel to a crayon has less wax and more binder compared to an oil pastel. Okay, an oil pastel has more oil, that's why it's a little bit softer compared to the crayons. So the crayons that we use in school are called hard crayons. Oil pastels are usually considered as soft crayons. So what's nice about oil pastels is that they are very spreadable and they're blendable, and they can easily be diluted using turpentine. So since our lesson is on dry media, oil pastels as a dry media, we will not be using turpentine as a solvent for any of our exercises, but trying to use oil pastel as a dry media in order to express colors on our subject matter. So we have already established our mountain. So now let's go to our coastal area. When we try to color the water of the ocean, it's not totally of the same color. There is actually a mixture of dark blues and light blues on the surface of the water. Okay, so after finishing our background, so let's move forward towards the foreground, and I'll be using a lighter shade of green to color part of the coastline as well as some parts of the mountain area. Okay, so when we try to use oil pastels, usually most artists use colors from light to dark. Okay, so the problem with oil pastel is that you can actually scrape the colors if you commit mistakes, but it's not easy to completely remove colors that you have erroneously applied on your surface, no? So every now and then you have to consider the different tonal values of your landscape. So which part have the light tones and the dark tones. So here I'm using a 12 color set of oil pastels, and if you noticed, I haven't used yellow yet, no? So I'll save the yellow for last. I'm going to use yellow for the accent for the warm areas of my oil pastel drawing. Okay, so you try to reserve yellow for the last part of your drawing session, wherein you're going to use it for the accents. So right now I'm determining the areas in the landscape which has the light green or yellow-green color. And if you notice, the mountains in the latest Central Cordilleras have a few tinge of green, but I'm not trying to use too much bright green there, just a hint of the vegetation, because I'll be reducing the illusion of distance if I do so. So instead, I'll be adding a little bit of violet or purple for the shadow areas of the mountain range. And you have to be very careful when using purple, because too much purple will diminish the illusion of distance if the background becomes too dark. Okay, so instead, I use the violet to indicate the shadow areas in between the ridges of the mountain range. And I'm also applying purple in the foreground. So if you mix purple and yellow-green, you will come up with a darker kind of green. Okay, so if you notice here in my approach, the colors that I apply are created in patches. Okay, I don't tend to linger in one area, because if you try to stay in one area, the result will become overworked. So we have to avoid overworking our pastel drawings. When you say overworked, it means that the drawing is not fresh looking, or as if the artists have spent too much time adjusting some parts of the artwork. So that's what we refer to as overworked. So a good artwork should look effortless, should show the stroke made by the artist, as well as show the viewer the technique that the artist have used. So I'm using right now more of zigzags and cross hatches, and so I'll try to introduce a few grays for the clouds to complete the complement of the foreground and the background. Okay, So since we would like the foreground to look a little bit warmer and closer to us, I'll be introducing brown for the ridges of the hill, as well as for the dark areas of the vegetation. So the texture of the coconut trees is now included. So if you notice, it's largely what we call as impressions. So if you combine green and brown, we can come up with a more earthy type of green. So you can include the details of the branches of the trees in the foreground. So just like any other sketches, don't expect that an oil pastel colored sketch is very detailed. Expect that it's mostly impressions of color because you are required to take a photo reference of your subject matter before you go home. So to further darken the intensity, you can include a little bit of hints of red in the foreground, or use black to further intensify some of the figures in the landscape. So it's not bad to use black when you do your sketch, but just don't overdo the use of black, because black has the tendency to absorb so much of the colors around it, and sometimes it makes your work look dirty. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining me in this demonstration on how to make drawings using colored oil pastels. See you next time.
Alright, so there you have it, guys. Lesson 1 and 2 of Module 5. Alright, so ang first is drawing a flower with the oil pastel techniques and sa to ba nun?
Yes.
Yes, and of course, ang Module 2.
Which is the drawing landscape. No? So I hope that you guys were you learned something, you were inspired, no? And of course, the way Sir Jude manipulated with the medium, which is the pastel, is really really inspiring, no?
Yes.
And siguro many of our participants and even our watchers would think it's really workable and dili siya intimidating, no, ang oil pastel.
Alright.
By the way, natin message coming from our watchers sa Facebook. From Norland June Labaco Consad, very artistic Professor Salas. Thanks for the best and relevant techniques. From Sharni Faye matod pa niya, no? Norland June, i-post ng imuha. And from Maria Jacinta Velmonte Ampongan, good afternoon, VSU, my alma mater back then, Visca.
And na po tayo rin feedback, no? Just wow, Professor Jude from Colin, gikan sa Southern Leyte, and how to be you po daw. Alright, so this time...
At this time, let's have questions, no, from our participants. And actually, Sir Jude is also already with us, no, sa ato ang Zoom, so he can answer your questions. And siguro we'll devote a few more minutes, no, of our lesson for question and answer.
Right. So we have a question here coming from Kiara from Southern Leyte. Good afternoon, Sir Jude. In doing my artworks, I usually prefer using this medium, but I struggle in keeping my artwork clean. How do you keep your all pastel artwork clean? Okay, Sir Jude.
So, okay, so for that question, my answer for that is first and foremost, when you work on your oil pastel, be sure that it's either your hand is not rubbing the surface of your drawing, or you are using tissue paper or another sheet of paper during the drawing process, because oil pastel is a very soft type of crayon, and if you tend to put your hand on top of it and your hand is warm, it easily gets dirty.
All right.
Okay.
So I hope the question was answered, no?
Another question from Southern Leyte again. Sir Jude, can we use cotton to spread the color and not to look messy?
Okay, I think you're referring to the accumulation of color on top of your oil pastel painting surface. So if that happens, I usually recommend to my students to use cotton buds, or if you don't have cotton buds, you use color and barbecue stick or bamboo or thin bamboo midribs to use as your holder for the cotton. So usually it happens, it becomes messy because of the accumulation of thick pastels on the surface. And another reminder, another tip is every time you use your oil pastel, be sure to wipe the tip of your oil pastel with tissue paper, because sometimes the oil pastel bits accumulate at the tip, and when the oil pastel touches another color, for example, yellow touches black, and you rub the yellow oil pastel on another surface, and there are still black pigments that you have picked up, then the yellow surface becomes dirty. So be sure that you have to be very aware of what you're doing when you are working with pastels. So wipe the tip of your oil pastels with tissue paper every time you move on to another area to color, so that the other pigments that have touched the tip of your oil pastel won't transfer to the surface that you're coloring.
All right. Thank you for the tip, Sir Jude. Here's another question from Al Christian sa Southern Leyte. Sir, for you, what is the best oil pastel brand that you can recommend for us beginners in order to produce great art?
Wow. All right. Good question.
I'm not trying to advertise any brands here, but it has something to do about being professional and amateur. No? So if you're a professional and you're trying to sell your oil pastel to art collectors, you have to invest money in buying the best oil pastel brand in the market. And sometimes quality is synonymous to cost and price. So usually oil pastels that are very good, soft, and high have high pigment composition are those that are very expensive. And I was even surprised when I was shopping in an online art shop that one stick of oil pastel will cost me more than 500 pesos per stick. No? So that's how expensive it is, because the higher the pigment composition of an oil pastel suspended in the oil and wax that it possesses, the more expensive is the pastel. So for amateurs and beginners like you, I can recommend mid-range oil pastels or cheap oil pastels to first gain your confidence. No? So don't jump into the investment scheme of buying expensive art materials that you have not yet mastered. So just like what we gave you a set of art materials. So the oil pastel that we gave you is actually an oil pastel for beginners. But if you want to migrate to a mid-range oil pastel set, I recommend Crepas, the brand Crepas of Sakura, and the Pentel brand. And I think even a lot of vloggers that are making demonstrations on oil pastel painting techniques and drawing techniques in YouTube are using Crepas by Sakura and also Pentel. No, but the best thing is if you can see a brand that is cheaper than these two other brands that I mentioned a while ago, these mid-range brands, and they have good pigment quality, then buy it. Okay, so kwarta ra gyud, budget ra gyud ang mubabag sa mga artists na makapalit sila quality art materials because honestly, art materials are very expensive if the quality is very high because of the pigments. No, the pigments, the colors themselves are the ones that makes the material very expensive.
All right, then I totally agree, no, Sir Jude. As also an artist myself, again, the higher the price, the better quality you get, no. Wow,
Yeah.
that's what we call artist grade, no.
All
Okay,
right.
So from Sir Freddy Baldos, give my regards to the resource person. Oh, so nang shout out si Sir Freddy to Sir Jude.
Rebound to my friend Freddy Balfour.
Okay, any other questions,
Yes,
for
another
Sir Jude?
question coming from Jemima Jane from Southern Leyte. Sir Jude, can I ask from lesson 1, the blending of background? Can we only use baby oil for blending or we can use any preference?
In my demonstration, I use turpentine because turpentine tends to evaporate fast compared to baby oil. Okay, you have to understand the properties of oil pastels. Okay, oil pastels will never get dry, no matter how you dry them, no matter what chemical you add to them, oil pastels will never get dry. That's why oil pastel artworks should be framed under glass. And I think Perlin have shared that in the trivia last meeting before we lost the internet connection. No? So usually when you say solvents, turpentine is quite dangerous for those of you na ay allergic rhinitis, no, because because sa iyang chemical composition nga petroleum based siya, but there are also allergy friendly nga mga products like hypoallergenic nga mga turpentines which are very expensive, and there are also other mediums like odorless mineral spirits that are also hypoallergenic but less costly. No, so you can there. I'll just mention a brand, but I'm not promoting the brand here. Pebeo has an odorless mineral spirit medium which you can use for your oil pastel, and then baby oil is also useful. It spreads the oil pastel easily, but use it in moderation because oil or baby oil evaporates or dries very slow na tapos na tendency nga kung kanabitaw ma-overwhelmed ta sa paggamit sa usa ka dissolving medium for our oil pastel, ang mahitabo ang atong oil pastel will lose its brilliance because we tend to dilute it with too much solvent. So as I've told you in the demonstration, use a solvent in moderation.
All right. And also may I add po no for those nga who are working on their oil pastel, no, make sure that the surface that you're working on is smooth, walay texture, no, kay it will appear sa imuhang work nga if sa kahoy makita nimo ang texture pud sa kahoy sa imuhang artwork, no, or if rough ang imuhang surface, so makita po dito sa inig final product, no. Medyo rough po.
You have to be very careful kung nipis mong papel and you're working on a textured table. That's what Gwen was trying to say nga kanabitaw nipis imong papel o niya imong table rough. So pag rub nimo sa imong crayon ang texture sa wood makita dito sa imong trabaho. So you have to be wary about that. So naay dapat smooth nga sapaw sa ilang sa imong papel. But if you're using illustration board, a smooth type of illustration board, then walay problema. Ang surface sa table dili mo tumapil.
Okay, any other questions, no?
Yeah, so I think natubag na ni Sir Jude no ang pangutanan ni Divine Grace. Ngano kuno dili mo gamit og too much nga BB oil.
Yeah.
Baguhan lang ano ni Sir no gitubag. But natay ko andere feedback or comment coming from Milba from Southern Leyte. Thank you so much Sir Jude. So impressed with your amazing artworks. Such a great gift from God.
Right. And by the way, for our exercise, Pearl, no, we'll be posting that one on our Facebook group, no?
Mm-hmm. And of course, Google Classroom.
Google Classroom as well, no? So, any other questions from our watchers and our listeners and our participants, no? So, nagpasalamat.
Thank you, Sir Jude.
Yeah, even I myself, no, na inspired po ta, no, sa demonstration ni Sir Jude.
Suave gayod, Sir Jude. Congrats. Love the all pastel paintings coming from Daday. Ayun. And amazing Jude ka, Sir Jude, coming from Jennifer.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right.
And by the way, participants, to those who are not yet in our Facebook group, no, please join our Facebook group. We are already on our 5th a week. So I think daghan na gyud ang or tanan na ang naa sa atong Facebook group, no. And also, please don't forget to upload your works. Actually, we have a lot of works that were uploaded on our Facebook group.
Yes.
So keep it coming, guys. Keep those your works, your artworks coming, and please post anything sa atong Facebook group concerning our SOA.
So, thank you, for your questions, guys. And of course, thank you, Sir Jude, for your answers. So, we have here, coming from the sample graduation photo daw. All right, sige atong i-share,
Okay.
before we end our learning session.
All right. So, sample graduation photo. Nagkuno na tang graduate, no? So, again, sa katong mga wala pa naka-submit sila mga requirements, please submit na, para maka-graduate gyud.
Yes.
All right. So, here's we'll be sharing on screen, ang graduation photo kani kuno, no? Asan naman to?
Okay.
Alright. So, this one, si Sir, kung ano man ni?
Allen.
Sir Allen, no? Okay, so mo ko na ni siya ang graduation photo.
So, formal ang attire, no?
Alright.
Okay.
So, again, guys, we only have one more week to go before, sa ato ang graduation. And I hope you learned, so far sa mga gipang share from the modules of Ma'am Marwen Casanyeda, all about mental health, the module on environmental protection from
Miss Ariana
Lower, and of course, ang atong visual arts na component, no?
All right. How about for the girls, ma'am? So, more din ang atong sample photo no nga naandam.
Okay. All right. And also from Mama Maria Jacinta Ampongan, congrats, sir, and thank you for sharing your talent. God bless.
All right. Okay, so all submissions are all due on August 20. Again, to our participants, all submissions are all due on August 20. That's Friday. Next Friday.
Next Friday na, no? Right, so what na yung mga questions lain? So wala na, no?
Wala naman siguro, no? So, ingon si Ma'am Daday, no? Pahinumdom, wala na dawaton after that. No? So, tanang submissions, no? Please take note of this, no?
So kung wala pa nakasubmit, di makagraduate. Kaya naman ang school on the air. No? School ba yata? So dapat di man ka ng uban lang ang mga nga bisag di ka mahuman pag-graduate nga pon ka
Yes.
dapat you have to undergo, and of course you have to accomplish the required mga mga requirements in order to graduate.
So, before we end our session, please be reminded to log on to your Zoom sessions ahead of time, starting 2:30 or 2:45 p.m. so you will not be late in our class at 3 p.m.
Right. Okay, so see you on our assessment day, for Module 5 on Friday, August 13 at exactly 3 in the afternoon, Philippine Standard Time, So, again, that wraps up our session for today for our SOA on Visual Arts. I am Buen Andrade.
And I'm Perlin Fernandez. See you then, only here at UDC FM 104.7. Thank you, aloha, and have a great day.
was walking down the road one day.